The signal and first contact. The void between stars was silent, as it had always been. Captain Ilara Voss stood on the bridge of the UES Pathfinder, her eyes fixed on the holographic display that dominated the center of the command deck. The exploration vessel wasn't built for combat. Its sleek, elongated hull housed the most advanced sensors humanity had ever developed, designed to map uncharted regions and search for resources across the expanding frontier of human space. "Captain, we're picking up something unusual," Lieutenant Commander Reza Khalid reported from his science station. His fingers danced across the interface, isolating the signal. "It's not matching any known communication protocols. Definitely artificial, though." Ilara brushed a strand of dark hair from her face. "Origin. Approximately 4.7 light-years from our position, near the Epsilon Indi system." Reza frowned. "That's outside our chartered exploration zone." Ilara studied the pulsing signal. The Pathfinder was already 3 months into its mission, mapping the resources of a newly discovered star cluster. Diverting would set them back weeks, but exploration protocols were clear. Unknown signals required investigation, especially this far from established human colonies. "Plot a course," she ordered, "and send a message to command. Let them know we're investigating a potential first contact situation." The Pathfinder's engines hummed to life, propelling the vessel through the dimensional fold of slip space. The journey took 17 hours, during which the signal grew stronger, its pattern becoming more distinct. "Captain, we're dropping out of slip space in 30 seconds, the navigator announced. The view screen displayed the countdown, and with a subtle shudder, the stars reappeared, no longer stretched by the distortion of faster-than-light travel. What they saw silenced the entire bridge crew. A planet hung in space before them, its atmosphere partially stripped away, revealing continental landmasses scarred by massive impact craters. In orbit, the shattered remains of structures drifted aimlessly, a once thriving orbital installation, now reduced to debris. "My God," Ilara whispered. "Are we too late?" Reza's voice was grim. "The atmospheric disruption is recent. Whatever happened here occurred within the last 3 weeks. Life signs. Scattered. Faint. Primarily concentrated in subterranean structures." Reza looked up from his console. "Captain, the destruction patterns aren't consistent with natural phenomena." This was deliberate. Ilara's jaw tightened. "Get me visual on any survivors. And maintain stealth protocols. Whatever did this could still be in the system." It took the Pathfinder sensors 20 minutes to locate and establish contact with the survivors. The beings they found huddled in deep underground bunkers, 6-limbed creatures with iridescent skin and large compound eyes. They called themselves the Turellians, and through the ship's translation matrix, they told a harrowing tale. They came without warning. The Turellian elder explained, his translator rendering his clicks and whistles into comprehensible language. "The Vraxian Empire has been expanding for decades, but we thought ourselves too distant to be threatened. We were wrong." "These Vraxians," Ilara asked, "what do they want?" "Resources, subjects, territory." The elder's compound eyes dimmed. "They do not negotiate or coexist. They conquer or exterminate." Ilara exchanged glances with her senior staff. Humanity had encountered alien civilizations before, mostly pre-spaceflight species or distant, isolationist empires that preferred trade to interaction. Never had they encountered a truly expansionist power. "Can you provide data on their technology? Their military capabilities?" The elder hesitated. "We can share what little we know. But you must understand, the Vraxians are centuries ahead of your technology. Your species would be wise to hide." Before Ilara could respond, the tactical officer interrupted. "Captain, we have contacts. 3 vessels just dropped out of FTL at the edge of the system." The view screen shifted to show 3 angular ships, their hulls covered in overlapping armor plates that gave them the appearance of predatory insects. They moved with unnatural precision, spreading out to form a search pattern. "They're scanning the debris field," Reza reported. "I don't think they've detected us yet." Ilara made her decision instantly. Download all data the Tyrellians can provide. Prepare emergency supplies for transfer to their bunkers. Then get us out of here. We need to warn Earth. The exchange was swift. The Pathfinder's shuttles delivered supplies while Reza's team downloaded everything the Tyrellians knew about the Vraxian Empire, their technology, their tactics, their ruthlessness. The information painted a grim picture of a species that consumed everything in its path. They were nearly complete when disaster struck. "Captain, one of the Vraxian vessels has altered course. They are heading directly for us." Ilara cursed. "How?" "Our stealth systems shoaled. They're using some kind of quantum phase detection. It's cutting right through our cloaking field. Evasive maneuvers. Bring us around to heading 227. Prepare for emergency slip space jump as soon as we clear the planet's gravity well." The Pathfinder lurched as it accelerated, its engines straining against the sudden demand for speed. The pursuing Vraxian vessel fired, a beam of coruscating energy that sliced through space where they had been moments before. "They're fast," the tactical officer warned. "Weapons charging for another shot." 30 seconds to slip space threshold, the navigator called out. The Vraxian ship fired again. This time, the beam grazed the Pathfinder's port side, shearing away a section of sensor array in a spray of molten metal. Warning klaxons blared as emergency systems engage. "Hull breach on decks 3 and 4. Sealing emergency bulkheads." 15 seconds to threshold. The Vraxian vessel adjusted its course, moving to cut them off from their escape vector. Ilara made a desperate call. "Deploy all countermeasures. Helm, on my mark. Execute heading 180 Mark 45, full burn." The maneuver was insanely risky, bringing them closer to the Vraxian ship before diving beneath it. Countermeasure pods exploded around them, creating a cloud of sensor-scrambling particles that momentarily confused the enemy targeting systems. Mark. The Pathfinder dove, engines screaming as they pushed beyond safety limits. For 3 terrifying seconds, they were completely exposed. The Vraxian ship fired again, and missed by meters as the Pathfinder slipped beneath their arc of fire. Threshold achieved. Initiating jump. The familiar distortion of slip space enveloped them, and the stars stretched into lines before disappearing entirely. They had escaped, barely. The bridge was silent except for the continuing alarms and damage reports flooding in. "Casualties?" Ilara asked quietly. 12 injured, no fatalities. Engineering reports the port-side drive assembly is operating at 68% efficiency. "We'll make it home, but it won't be a smooth ride." Ilara nodded, her expression grim. "Prepare a Priority 1 transmission to Earth Command. Include all data on the Vraxians and the attack on the Tyrellian homeworld. Mark it extinction-level threat." As the Pathfinder limped back toward Earth, the data they carried sent shockwaves through the highest levels of government. The Tyrellian records showed the systematic conquest of 17 sentient species over the past century, each one either subjugated or eradicated. Analysis of Vraxian expansion patterns made their intentions clear. They were headed toward human space. On Earth, the response was unprecedented. Ancient rivalries were set aside as humanity united against the coming storm. Colonial defense forces merged with Earth's military under a single command structure. Research facilities worked around the clock, analyzing Vraxian technology for weaknesses. Manufacturing centers retooled to produce weapons and ships. Admiral Haruki Yamamoto, the newly appointed Supreme Commander of the United Earth Defense Force, stood before the assembled representatives of humanity's colonies and nations. His weathered face, etched with the lines of 5 decades of military service, was solemn. "We have perhaps 6 months before the Vraxian advance fleet reaches our outermost colonies," he announced. "The data provided by the Pathfinder indicates they will send scouts first, a mistake we can exploit. Every colony is being equipped with early warning systems. Every civilian vessel capable of modification is being armed. We will not be caught unprepared. Across human space, ships gathered. Mining vessels with reinforced hulls were fitted with point defense systems. Luxury liners became troop transports. Research stations converted to ammunition factories. The scattered fleet of humanity, never before united under a single banner, assembled at strategic points, ready to respond wherever the enemy might appear. And then, exactly as predicted, the Vraxian scouts arrived. At the edge of the Alpha Centauri system, 3 ships identical to those the Pathfinder had encountered emerged from their version of FTL travel. They expected to find an unsuspecting civilization, easy prey like all the others. Instead, they found a welcoming committee. The Battle of Alpha Centauri lasted less than 30 minutes. The Vraxian scouts, confident in their technological superiority, were unprepared for the ferocity of the human response. Their ships were surrounded, overwhelmed by swarms of smaller vessels attacking from multiple vectors, their advanced shields eventually buckling under concentrated fire. One Vraxian ship was captured intact, a treasure trove of technology the human scientists immediately began reverse engineering. The other 2 were destroyed, but not before sending a final transmission back to their fleet. The element of surprise was gone. Now the real war would begin. The battle and unexpected alliance. Admiral Yamamoto stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, the newest and most powerful vessel in the human fleet. The massive dreadnought represented the culmination of 6 months of frantic technological development, incorporating elements of captured Vraxian technology with humanity's own innovations. "Status report," he ordered, his voice calm despite the gravity of the situation. "The Vraxian fleet has been detected crossing the Kuiper Belt," his tactical officer responded. "Initial count shows 117 vessels, including what appears to be their command ship. It's massive, sir, nearly 3 kilometers in length." Yamamoto nodded. The intelligence from the Tyrellians had been accurate. The Vraxians always deployed overwhelming force, crushing resistance before it could organize. "And our fleet. All ships are in position. 62 capital ships, 143 converted civilian vessels, and the defense platforms are online. The colony has been completely evacuated." "Good." Yamamoto turned to his communications officer. "Open a channel to all ships." The officer nodded, and Yamamoto addressed the assembled fleet, his image appearing on bridges across human space. "Men and women of the United Fleet, today we face an enemy that believes us weak, an enemy that has never known defeat. They come expecting another easy conquest, another species to subjugate or destroy." He paused, his gaze steady. "They are about to learn what it means to face humanity at war. We do not fight merely for our lives, but for our right to exist as free beings among the stars. Execute Operation Thunderbolt. Good hunting." The human fleet did not wait for the Vraxians to approach. Instead, they advanced in what appeared to be disorganized groups, seemingly desperate or poorly coordinated. The Vraxians, accustomed to terrified resistance, took the bait and split their forces to intercept the scattered human vessels. That was their first mistake. As the Vraxian ships closed in, the human vessels suddenly accelerated, their engines pushing well beyond normal safety parameters. Each group targeted a single Vraxian ship, overwhelming it with concentrated fire from multiple angles. The space around Earth lit up with the silent explosions of combat. Aboard the Defiant, Yamamoto watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. Phase 1 is successful. Commence Phase 2. From behind Earth's moon, a second wave of human ships emerge. These smaller, faster, and piloted by Earth's most skilled fighter pilots. They streaked toward the now separated Vraxian vessels, deploying their secret weapon, quantum disruptor torpedoes. The torpedoes were based on technology reverse-engineered from the captured Vraxian scout, but modified using principles of quantum mechanics that the Vraxians had apparently never explored. When they detonated against the enemy shields, they didn't simply drain energy. They created cascading failures that rippled through the Vraxian energy systems. Multiple enemy vessels disabled. The tactical officer reported, unable to keep the excitement from his voice. Their shields are failing across the board. But the Vraxians were not easily defeated. Their remaining ships regrouped, forming a defensive perimeter around their massive command vessel. From this protected position, they launched swarms of smaller craft, thousands of drone fighters that descended upon the human fleet. All ships engage point defense systems, Yamamoto ordered as the tactical situation shifted. The human advantage was being rapidly eroded by the sheer number of Vraxian drones. Ship after ship reported damage as the relentless attackers overwhelmed their defenses. "Sir, we're losing too many vessels," his executive officer warned. "At this rate, we'll be overrun in 20 minutes. Yamamoto studied the display, searching for an opening. The Vraxian command ship remained behind its protective screen, directing the battle with ruthless efficiency. If they could somehow reach it. "Admiral, we're detecting new contacts. A lot of them." From the direction of the outer system, hundreds of new signatures appeared on the tactical display. For a moment, Yamamoto feared the worst. Vraxian reinforcements arriving to deal a final blow. Then the communications officer turned, his expression one of disbelief. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission. It's in Tyrellian." The view screen flickered, showing the iridescent face of a Tyrellian commander. Behind him, dozens of other species could be seen, all victims of the Vraxian Empire, now united in a desperate alliance. "Humans of Earth," the Tyrellian spoke, "we have monitored your resistance. You have accomplished what none could before. You have hurt them. We bring ships and warriors from 17 worlds. Let us join our strength to yours." The arrival of the alien alliance changed everything. The Vraxians, suddenly faced with species they had thought conquered or destroyed, hesitated, perhaps for the first time in their long history of expansion. Yamamoto didn't waste the opportunity. "This is Admiral Yamamoto. We welcome your assistance. Target the enemy command ship, everything you have." The combined fleet surged forward. Human vessels flew alongside Tyrellian cruisers and ships of designs never before seen in Earth space. What they lacked in coordination, they made up for in determination. The Vraxian drones, programmed to fight in specific patterns, struggled to adapt to the wildly different tactics of multiple species. Gaps appeared in their defense, and the Allied fleet pressed the advantage relentlessly. The Defiant, leading a wedge of the heaviest human and alien warships, punched through the weakening Vraxian line. They took heavy damage. Entire sections of the massive vessel vented atmosphere, and fires raged through its lower decks. But Yamamoto refused to withdraw. "Bring us alongside their command ship," he ordered. "All weapons, prepare to fire on my mark." The Vraxian command vessel loomed before them, its weapons blazing as it tried to repel the attack. Several Allied ships exploded under the barrage, but the rest pressed forward, returning fire with everything they had. Now, the Defiant's main cannon, a hybrid of human and Vraxian technology, fired. The beam struck the enemy command ship precisely at its power distribution node, a weakness identified in the captured scout vessel. Simultaneously, the Allied ships concentrated their fire on the same area. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a brilliant flash of energy erupted from the Vraxian flagship as its power core destabilized. Secondary explosions rippled across its massive hull, and escape pods began launching from its sides. "They're abandoning ship," the tactical officer reported. "The remaining Vraxian vessels are falling back." The command ship's destruction sent shockwaves through the Vraxian fleet. Without its coordinating presence, their once perfect formation dissolved into disarray. Some vessels continued fighting. Others attempted to retreat. But the combined human and alien forces showed no mercy, methodically targeting and destroying or disabling every Vraxian ship in the system. 3 hours later, it was over. The space around Earth was littered with debris from both sides, a silent testament to the ferocity of the battle. But humanity had survived. More than survived, they had achieved what no other species had managed in decades of Vraxian expansion. They had won. In the aftermath, representatives from all 18 species gathered aboard the Defiant. Despite their vastly different biologies and cultures, they shared one thing: the experience of facing extinction at the hands of the Vraxians. Now, they also shared victory. Admiral Yamamoto, his uniform still stained with smoke from the damaged bridge, addressed the assembled delegates. Today marks a turning point not just for humanity, but for all free species. The Vraxian Empire still stands, but for the first time, it has been forced to retreat. Together, we have proven they are not invincible. The Turellian commander stepped forward. For generations, our people lived in fear. Many of us had given up hope, hiding in the shadows of our own worlds, while the Vraxians took what they wanted. You humans showed us another way. You showed us how to fight back. From that meeting emerged the Galactic Concordat, an alliance of free species dedicated to mutual defense and the eventual liberation of worlds still under Vraxian control. Earth, due to its central role in the alliance's formation, became its headquarters. The war was far from over. The Vraxian Empire, though wounded, still controlled vast territories and resources. But for the first time, their expansion had been halted. More importantly, their aura of invincibility had been shattered. 1 year after the Battle of Earth, Captain Ilara Voss, now commanding the UES Liberator, stood on the bridge of her new vessel. The ship incorporated the best technologies from all 18 species of the Concordat, making it the most advanced vessel ever built. "Captain, we're receiving the final coordinates for the Liberation Fleet," her communications officer reported. Ilara nodded, studying the star chart. Their destination was the Turellian homeworld, the first of many planned liberation operations. "Signal the fleet," she ordered. "Tell them the Liberator is ready to lead the way." As her ship accelerated toward the dimensional threshold of slip space, Ilara reflected on how much had changed. A single distress signal had led to first contact, then to conflict, and finally to an alliance that none could have predicted. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as liberators. Behind the Liberator, ships from 18 different worlds formed up, their diverse designs united under a single purpose: the first wave of a new kind of fleet, one built not to dominate, but to free. And at its heart, the indomitable spirit of humanity, reaching out to the stars not in fear, but in hope.